So, here we are then. We're at the end of Pixelated's first series as the Doctor. And, well, what can I say? It's been a good series overall. There have been a few bad stories, but mostly good. And in this video, I'll be talking about the story I think was the worst, which one I thought was the best, and basically the one that comes in the middle. So the third place, which is the horrible one, second place, which is good, but it didn't quite beat the first place. So, before we get to that, I just have to say, the writers and directors of this series, minus one, which was Frank Cottrell Boyce, they've been good. They've all been good, and even the new ones have made their mark. And Pixelated, I always think each actor's first series of The Doctor is their most important one. That and the last one. And as obviously, if you don't know, Matt Smith's my favourite Doctor. But if Peter Capaldi carries on like this, I think he'll be my second favourite. So, which is the story I thought was the worst of Series 8? Well, it was In the Forest of the Night. Because, well, the kids were just annoying, and the writer Frank Cottrell Boyce, everybody who kept online said he's great because he's great writing for kids. But I didn't see that. I didn't see any of his talent, and most things just didn't go anywhere. And my best scene was made pointless seconds later. And I didn't think that should have happened. Anyway, if you want to know how bad it really was and want to know how annoying it was, I have a full review of all episodes on my channel, and the Death in Heaven review will be coming out next week. Next up, my number 2 spot. Listen. Yep, Listen. That was the one in the middle, because Listen, Mummy on the Orient Express, Time Heist, and practically all those episodes, so episode 4 till episode 9, all of those were in the middle. But Listen, I thought, it was one of Stephen Moffat's best scripts of this series, and this is really original, and for that, that is number 2. Obviously, this is just one I randomly picked from the middle, because all of those I thought were the best, but all it came down to was flipping a toss of a coin, really. So, that's how good all those episodes were. And number 1, Dark Water and Death in Heaven. Because as I said in my Dark Water review yesterday, it's a nice breath of fresh air, and it's just great to see another 2-part. And Dark or Death in Heaven, I'm not going to go too in depth of it, because obviously I will have a review out of it next week. It was a good and a suitable season finale for Pete Capaldi's first season, and all of the plot threads set up in the entire series were paid off nicely. And that ending, I'll try and think of some words to describe it. And that was my personal 3 episodes that I felt I could talk about the most. Now, on to Stephen Moffat, because he wrote 7 episodes of the entire series, which is, I think, the most he's ever written in one series. And this showed out his talent, really, because Listen, as I said, it's really original, and it's one of his best scripts of the series. And it was so different, nice to see the Doctor going on about something that we do every day, and it's one of those episodes that makes you think about it, even though it's been the episode's finished. And the pre-title sequence was amazing. And considering it was just Peter Capaldi talking to himself, that man has talent. Really does. And Mummy on the Orient Express is another thing I want to talk about. It was a good episode, great guest stars, and great plotline, and Clara did well for what her limited screen time she had. Considering she was only there for a pep talk, really, and then scene at the end, it was really good to see her, what she did. Again, this was Capaldi's episode, really. He did an amazing job, and the Foretold was a great villain, and it finally answered something from Series 5. Again, all of my reviews from Episode 1 to 11 is on my channel. Death in Heaven is next week. And Flatline is another thing I want to talk about. It swapped the roles around from Doctor and Clara from Mummy on the Orient Express. And same with Peter Capaldi and what Jen Coleman had to do with Mummy on the Orient Express. She had limited... Of course, he was the main character, and this was the Dr. Light episode of the series, but it wasn't really Dr. Light in general. Where I consider Dr. Light less than 5 minutes, because that's generally how it happens. But he did well with the limited screen time, and Clara really... Jenna Coleman, again, it was her episode, and she sold it. And Deep Breath. Great season opener, and it just made me want a Paternoster Gang spin-off even more. Seriously, people, we need a spin-off of that. It could be like Sherlock in space, and Stephen Moffat write Sherlock, so it would be perfect. And another thing, The Caretaker, I gave it a 6 out of 10. The second lowest scores of the series entirely. And now I've watched In the Forest of the Night, which was the worst episode of the series, I appreciate The Caretaker more. I still think it deserves a 6, but it's... Once you've seen this after the In the Forest of the Night, I can see it's better than what I originally said it was. But since I only go for whole numbers instead of 0.5s, I think it's like a 6. And that ending of Death in Heaven. I have no words, seriously. Nick Frost as Santa. Where are they going with this? I'll probably talk about it next week in my Death in Heaven review. And if I can't think of any words, then you know how random it is, because it was pretty random. Very random. Anyway, it also marks Samuel Anderson's first and probably final series of Doctor Who. He was a really good actor, and I felt his character got development more and more he was on screen, and in Death in Heaven he really got some character development even though he was technically dead. And it was a great episode, Death in Heaven. I'll do in depth next week, as I said, but overall Series 8 is a great series. Peter Capaldi is definitely on his way to becoming my second favourite Doctor, because he is great, and can still bring a bit of Matt Smith into it, but still a serious like some of the other Doctors, and he still has the 10th Doctor's disliking of salutes, which is nice. But Series 8, let's compare it to the other Doctor's first seasons. Christopher Eccleston only had 1 season, so I'm not sure if you can count that as the first season. David Tennant in Series 2, I'd say they're pretty equal. There was a few mixed bags. Series 5 with Matt Smith, that was probably really good. I only had about 1 bad story. And this one was Series 8. I mean, hope Peter Capaldi stays on for at least another 2 years, or do what 9th or 10th and 11th Doctor did and stay on for 3 series, because it's a really good job. Peter Capaldi is doing amazing, and that new title sequence, it's okay. I've had a few weeks to grow on it, and I do like it, but I can't wait to see Peter Capaldi back for the Christmas special, and I will be doing a review of the Christmas special after it comes out, and Series 9 I will start episode reviews for that as well. So, put in the comment section how much you like Series 8. See if you've enjoyed it as much as I have. What do you think of Peter Capaldi? Do you like him, don't you? And what do you think of Jenna Coleman, as this was her, sadly. If you haven't seen Death in Heaven, or just skip ahead 30 seconds, her last season. Did you? If you haven't seen Death in Heaven, you better have missed out, or that's a major spoiler. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. Go watch Death in Heaven, and so you're ready for my review next week. Hope you've enjoyed Series 8. See you for the Christmas. See you next week for my review, or final episode review of Series 8. And I'll be back with a random pod next week. So, anyway, Paternoster Row Gang spin-off. Spin-off, 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 spin-off. Okay, spin-off. See ya.